Not what you think, Fred. All right.
Fred.
Like, dude, you're an idiot.
I'm doing very well, Jen. Is it just going to be me and you, or Eli and Zach going to pop in?
Yeah, they'll talk every once in a while.
Every now and then we'll kind of
He was already here right away.
It's kind of, well, we're used to you attacking us, so.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Look at
Let's just put it this way. Who do you see as the quarterback week 1 for the Green Bay Packers?
I see.
Welcome in, everybody, to another edition of Open Book here on Game On Wisconsin. As you can see, I am here with Jen. For the first, what is this? This is the first show of the off season. I mean, I guess after the initial show,
like our therapy session.
Yeah, after the
I don't
therapy.
remember if we had a show after that. Well, it's been what, like a month?
Yeah, it's been a little bit. We took a bit of a break throughout the rest of the playoffs and the Super Bowl, and waited a couple weeks into the off season. We thought we would maybe have a clearer idea of Aaron Rodgers' situation by this week, which
Please be serious. We didn't know anything.
Yeah, no, I guess anyone who thought that was probably kidding themselves, but I was hoping for something. But this is a good question. Is the I don't even know how it's pronounced, but the punch karma that Aaron Rodgers did, that cleanse, sounded quite intense.
Okay. I do not believe that there is anything like therapeutic about vomiting or like diarrhea. So
yeah,
if you can find peace in that, I don't know. Because like there's never been a time where I have thrown up that I didn't want to die instead of, whatever was going on.
I don't know how that's like a cleanse to be like, I'm going to like just throw up and other things, basically to the point where I can no longer do that. It just doesn't sound like a good time to me. But a long time ago, I
can understand like needing to like flush out your body, but it's not therapeutic. Like that's the wrong word to use.
Yeah, I don't think I would come out of that like being like, oh, I have a clearer sense of like the world now. No, I think I would be very confused and upset if I spent the last 12 days vomiting and I think we have a special guest from midair. It might not work. Zach, as you can see, Zach on a plane. Zach is currently very high in the sky. I doubt this will work, but I appreciate the effort by Zach to be in here. Zach is currently flying. I am here in California where it's like 50 degrees, and I hate to admit it, being, a Midwestern person, but I was like cold today, and I'm like, I shouldn't be cold when it's 50 degrees.
You are from Chicago. You should not complain about 50 degrees.
I know. I was really upset with myself.
It's actually really disappointing from one Midwesterner to another that you were cold.
I was walking around and I was shivering, and I'm like, yo, get it together. Okay. This is not right.
Even if you're cold, like your Midwestern pride has to tell you like, I'm fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I let it get over me for like 30 seconds, and I'm like, no, okay, stop it, because this is just not right. But yeah, I would imagine it's a lot colder in Minnesota right now.
Yeah, we had a major snowstorm blow through yesterday. Obviously, like we got out of work 10 minutes early. That was that's how bad it was. We had to leave work 10 minutes early. And I walked out to my car, and I couldn't see where the curb ended and like the parking lot began, and I stepped and my shin, like it went up, like the snow was about up to my shin.
Oh wow.
And I was in like a low boot, so like my feet were just covered. Yeah, I was like, I hope nobody was watching, because I just like stepped and I had no idea where I was stepping. And then to get into my car, there was like, the way the wind was blowing, there was huge drifts on the side of my car. Like not like there was almost no snow on my car, but I couldn't get into my car without basically walking through like 2 feet of snow. So but got home, put on got out of my wet shoes, and today was, it's cold, but it's bearable. It's just a little windy, but it's just February here in Minnesota.
Exactly. I was about to say, it's probably just, another day.
I'm just wait till April, where we get like that 3-foot snowstorm randomly in the middle of the month after we've had like 2 weeks of nice weather.
It happens every year.
Yeah.
Somehow, also in Chicago, there's a random day in April for no reason. Like you said, after a couple days or a week plus where it's like, oh, it's starting to get nicer. You think you're good.
Mhm.
You put on a t-shirt for like the first time, boom, blasted with a snowstorm. So that's always fun. Yeah, I'm actually going to be back in Chicago next week. So we'll see. We'll see what that weather is all about. But yeah, as we started the show with, I guess we might as well kick it off with the biggest news. I mean, or lack of news surrounding the Packers, which is Aaron Rodgers. But I actually do think there's not news, but in my opinion, you know, I have a pretty good opinion about that whole
Just like
situation.
sit back for like 20 minutes and just listen to you talk about Aaron Rodgers.
Number one, yes, Todd, you know where you can get those. Let's just throw it up real quick for everyone watching the show who wants to wear our great open book merch or any other Game on Wisconsin merch. Still unaware of how to exactly pronounce this website. It's kind of bad look, but yeah, Camp Pichet Collective. So yeah, check that out for all of your open book and other Game on Wisconsin merch. But it might just be too simple. But for me, like the minute I saw Tom Clements get hired back to the staff at nearly 70 years old to come out of retirement to be the quarterback coach of the Packers, that's what I said, barring something insane, Aaron Rodgers is coming back, because I just don't think you're getting him to come out of retirement at that age to go and start with Jordan Love now and see what he can do with him. Like, it just, to me, it almost seems too simple and easy, but that's how I look at it. It's just, you don't bring back Aaron Rodgers' old quarterback coach from a decade ago when he won his first MVP and all that. You know, just, oh, we'll see. We don't know what's with Rodgers. We'll see. Maybe he'll just coach Love. Maybe he'll coach Rodgers. Clements wouldn't do it either. I mean, if you're retired and you're just chilling at home, you're not going to take a call from a team and be like, hey, can you come and work on this project for us? Or, hey, come be the quarterback coach for the back-to-back MVP. So to me, maybe I'm just being optimistic or this, that, but I think it's, you know, just a matter of time until Rodgers announces he's back. I think it probably depends a lot on Devontae, but I don't think it really depends on them. I think he might be waiting around.
It's kind of like a hand in hand where it's like they kind of, their plan coexists with one another, where it's like Rodgers' plan obviously depends on Devontae, but Devontae's plan also depends on Rodgers. But, you know, at some point, something's got to pull and you got to do one deal before the other and just kind of see where it goes. So I'm sure those are a lot of conversations that they're having. But yeah, the Tom Clements thing, I mean, I've been a little too optimistic about, you know, I'm pretty confident that he is going to come back. He just, you know, he's a competitor and I don't see him giving up football, especially when he knows that he can play at a high level. You know, you're coming off back-to-back MVPs. He just seems like somebody who, he's got that competitive blood in him. And to bring in Tom Clements, then that's a little bit more of a sign like, okay, they're bringing someone in who's close to Rodgers. It'd be an odd move if Rodgers didn't stay and you bring him back. Like, you kind of wonder what would have persuaded Clements to come back in that way. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's so much reading into the Aaron Rodgers stuff where it's like, no matter what he says, people are going to dissect it to every single character that is typed out or every single syllable that he says. It's almost overboard for me, the way that people, like, it's comical how like, I read his Instagram post and I just read it like, you know, he's just grateful because, you know, people can, like, he can't just show appreciation without people absolutely like dissecting it all. Maybe he knows that, maybe, you know, because the media has, you know, blown things out of proportion that he didn't like. So, you know, maybe he's toying with them, but at the same time, you know, Packers fans are getting heavily involved in all of it and kind of almost, you know, fans complain about Rodgers being cryptic. Rodgers owes us this. It's like, you're kind of doing it to yourself. Like, you're the one who's making it more dramatic than it is, in my opinion. You know, people just get so invested in it and then it just turns into this big thing where it's like, I don't know. That's just not the way I just kind of, you know, I try and stay neutral and just kind of to the point. And basically until he says something then it's like you can go back and maybe read between the lines, but it's just I don't have the energy for it, and it's exhausting to try and keep up with, every little thing. And then of course, like his team, you got Bakhtiari making jokes like, all right, what are you gonna eat for training camp this year? So it's like I think, maybe it's a game to them, but a lot of fans are kind of falling into the trap and maybe at their own fault. But I think a lot of the reason would be more for like the bigger media, kind of like that kind of like punishment just dealing with them. I don't think it's intended for Packers fans themselves, but of course, everybody gets very heavily involved in it all, and I try and just sit back and I watch the chaos. I've been kind of a wallflower for the last week, just kind of seeing everything but not being involved in anything. And it is really interesting to see all the different takes and all the different Twitter detectives out there. But I don't take anything. I try not to take anything for more than it is at this point. And when Rodgers wants to say something, it's a big decision. People are kind of upset that he's taking this long, but if he's going to retire, that's a huge decision for somebody like him. And if he's going to stay in Green Bay or if he's going to request a trade, like there's a lot to consider here. So I really don't blame him for needing to take his time. I understand that the team is going to need to know at some point so that they can start making moves. But, you can't be mad at somebody for taking the time to consider what would be, the biggest decision of his career.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm seeing so many people on Twitter either going after Rodgers saying, oh, what's taking so long? It's just, it's just football. It's just a decision. But like, no, imagine, put yourself, forget even in his shoes. But if you had to go right now in your day-to-day job and make a decision about your entire future, especially if you were in the same company, in the same place, in the same job for 17 years, and all of a sudden you had to figure out your future, it's not a decision you're going to make so quickly. It's not something that's just so easy to go through. Mm-hmm. But much like you said, Jen, when I first saw that Instagram post, like I read it the same way. I was like, all right, kind of interesting, but I wasn't really nervous about it. I wasn't like, this means something. This is retirement. But then
you're so full of it. You're nervous every time Rodgers posts something.
I will be honest. So I do have his.
You get like a notification, like Rodgers posted, and you're probably like, oh gosh, what is it?
So that's the thing. I do have notifications for him on, and every time I get one, my heart does stop. So I'm like, who knows? This could be it. But
except it's super weird because I have his notifications on too, and it's like really odd that anytime he tweets, it's just like a foot that pops up.
It's like, here's a foot. Yeah, you don't know how to, like, you forget it's him because you're so used to his other profile picture. But yeah, no, I really did. I read it and I scrolled through the pictures and I'm like, all right, pictures of the team, pictures of the floor, pictures with Shailene Woodley, who I guess they are together, who knows. But I was reading it and I was like, all right, it's kind of interesting, but it wasn't making me nuts to say. I put my phone down, I went back to what I was doing, and all of a sudden I got notification from like Bleacher Report. Aaron Rodgers, emotional Instagram post. Is he going to retire? And then I go to Twitter. Twitter's blowing up. What does it mean? This, that. And then it starts getting in my head. And then I start doing the dissecting and I'm reading every word and I'm reading,
See, I read it and I rolled over and went to bed. Eli read it and probably didn't sleep the rest of the night.
I was up that night, literally. I'm not joking. I think I was up till 4:30 or 5 a.m. because I got so deep in my head that I went and I made a retirement video. I went and made a coming back video. And when I first read it, literally for the first like half hour, I was like, it's nothing. Like my brother was texting me. He's like, I'm nervous, this, that. And I'm like, dude, you're being crazy. It doesn't mean anything. It's just a post. And then
if anything, I took it as like a good sign, like things are good right now.
Yeah,
like life is good and things are good. And, a lot of people were like, he's retiring, but it's like, or he's just thankful and like reflecting on this season. So
Packer fan makes a really good point. You would have to wonder, why do all that work just to retire, But yeah, I did let it get to me, and I just kept rereading the caption, and then I think what got in my head a little bit was like, to the guys I got to share the quarterback room with. So I'm like, oh, he used the word I got, a few past tense words, and it started getting in my head. And then you have the last picture of Cobb and Devontae with the gap in middle where he's supposed to be, and I'm like, oh my God, the last picture, he's not in it, he's missing it where he always is, and yeah, from what started with an innocent post, and I was like, oh, it doesn't mean anything. By the end of the night, I felt like I was watching a Packer game. Like my legs were shaking. I was so nervous. And I remember But
What's
yeah,
crazy is like I am the world's biggest overthinker, and I am just so like neutral about like my blood pressure hasn't gone up or down or anything with the Rodgers stuff. It's like maybe I'm just so numb to it, but like
I
for
think that's
being
what
as
it
being an
is.
overthinker as I am, I'm like not deciphering anything, which is
Yeah.
really bizarre. Maybe that's not good. Maybe that's like how, maybe that's me ignoring it, but yeah, I
I've been
figured you were probably just all up in the emotions and the feels because I mean, you're kind of a big Aaron Rodgers fan, so there's a lot going on for you right now.
yeah, you could say that kind of.
At least, I don't know well, like at least you kind of can prepare for it. I never got a chance to prepare for Jordy. It just happened and like I
There's
don't know
no
if it's worse, the ripping the Band-Aid or like the being able to prepare for it.
I know I've thought the same thing where it's like, would I rather know what's happening and like kind of get a chance to prepare myself, but also you have to think about it for longer and all that, or all of a sudden it just happens. But yeah, no, when Jordy happened, I was not ready for that. And yeah, you make a good point, Mariah. I will never be prepared for Rodgers to I thought, at the end of the season, I was like, you know what, if he retires, like I think I'll be all right. Like I think I'm prepared. I'll be okay. And that night, I realized like okay, like you are so not ready for this to be over because it was the first time I think ever where I really was like, oh my god, like I really think he might retire tomorrow. And it was so stupid because when I first read it, I literally have like 10 texts to my brother. I'm like, it doesn't mean anything. Stop being crazy. It doesn't mean anything. And by the end of the night, I was so convinced that he was going to be retiring. And it was just so stupid.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to get Mariah's information so that when that time comes, I can message her for wellness checks on you because I know that I might not hear from you for like maybe months.
Yeah, no, I might just go underground for a little while, but I'm not expecting that to be this year. Maybe next year, the year after, I'll disappear for a little while, but I do not think it is time for Mr. Rogers to retire. And yeah, look, a lot of it's tied to Devontae, but Goody. So let's transition a little bit to Goody's press conference today. He spoke about obviously a lot about Rodgers, about Devontae, about Devondre Campbell, Rasul Douglas, a lot about the team in general. But what I thought was interesting is that he did, someone asked, would you basically let Devontae hit the open market? And he said, a lot of hypotheticals, but basically, yes, like that is an option at the moment. But obviously, he said what the team wants to do is give him a long-term extension. He mentioned how the team avoids using the franchise tag, but if they have to, they would use it, hoping to get an extension done. So, in my opinion, even if it's the tag, like there's no way they let Devontae walk. But I don't know. How do you see the Devontae Rodgers connection and everything going on?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to, think about letting a player like Devontae walk, like the top receiver in the league, one of the best who has ever put on a Packers uniform. He had a phenomenal year this year. It's just, I feel like this team is going to do everything that they can do to keep him. And what it's going to come down to is what Devontae thinks that he is worth, because obviously he's talked about his story and how he's worked hard and, he knows that he deserves this money and he's not wrong for wanting that. He's not
Yeah,
wrong for feeling like he should be a top paid wide receiver when he is playing like a top wide receiver in the league. So, there's valid points
yeah,
on both sides. And I think just what it's going to come down to is what Devontae is going to settle for. If he thinks that what the Packers are offering are what he thinks that he's worth, then I don't see him leaving. But if he thinks that he's being undershot on a price, then I could see him saying, you know what, let me test free agency because yeah,
yeah,
he kind of deserves that right. And he also deserves to kind of have that decision at, it's his future, it's his money, and it's gonna like there's a lot of different factors, and especially the whole Rodgers thing, like is he going to want to stick around and, kind of unsure of the quarterback situation right now? Or is he going to want to go find somebody who, he wants to be a contender with? Because
yeah,
if Aaron Rodgers doesn't come back, we don't know where this team is at, contending wise. And Devontae Adams wants a ring.
yeah.
So there's just a lot of different factors right now and so much up in the air. But yeah, a lot of it's going to come down to, like I said, their contracts are kind of, coexisting right now with one another. But if Devontae leaves because he thinks that he's worth more, that's really hard to argue, and it'll be a huge bummer. But he has shown his worth, and I just hope that if that were to happen, that he goes somewhere into the AFC that we don't have to play for like 4 more years.
Exactly. Yeah, it would be. I mean, look, it would be extremely tough to see him leave at all, but to see him on any NFC team would be really brutal. But yeah, I mean, I remember his press conference, I believe from before the season, he said that he believes, he should be the highest paid receiver in the league. And then he backed it up with an incredible season. So I'm sure he still believes that. And the biggest problem is I think it's DeAndre Hopkins, who got like a 3-year, like ridiculous deal with the Cardinals, where now it kind of threw off all the contracts because he wants to be paid more than Hopkins, but usually you're getting 4-year extensions and the money per year is different. Now Hopkins has this crazy per year deal that Devontae wants more than that, but I mean, we'll see. I do think that they would sooner give him the tag, which is very unlike the Packers, but they would sooner give him the tag than let him walk. But I don't really know. Like, it's scary to think that, he could end up on a different team. But part of me is just like, they're going to find a way to figure it out. Like today we saw Kenny Clark. They did a restructure of his contract, creating almost $11 million in cap space, converting a ton of money to a signing bonus, which I know I've said before on the show, and I'll say it again. Signing bonus seems like the biggest scam in football. Like, why don't teams just put every contract, 90% or all of it on a signing bonus? Boom, nothing's against the cap. I've never seen anyone disprove this. I keep bringing it up, and no one knows. I mean, do you know any better idea than me on why teams can just be like, out of nowhere, like, hey, okay, signing bonus, so now it's not against the cap? Like, I don't understand it.
No, cap talk just like one in one ear, out the other. Like, I don't speak the money. I don't get the money. Does the cap exist or not? I don't know. Russ Ball just does what Russ Ball does, and I just trust that he's gonna figure it out. And
yeah,
I mean, I don't know, all the money. Everybody thinks that they know the cap. Like, I don't understand. There's a lot of people who say different things, and everybody interprets the cap differently. It seems like there's only a few reliable sources that I actually pay attention to when they talk about the cap. I never talk about the cap. I'm not a reliable source. Don't ever ask me about the cap.
Yeah, I mean, but like you said, I mean, at this point, I'm in the group of the cap isn't real, because every time it seems like a team is up against the cap, boom, signing bonus this, signing bonus that, and yeah, you have to make some moves, restructure this, but I know right now everyone keeps talking about the Saints are like 70 million over the cap or whatever, but if they had Drew Brees and they still thought they were able to contend this year right now, they would do this and that and this and that to make it work, and to have Brees and Michael Thomas and Alvin Kamara and sign this guy or that guy. Like, teams always manage to figure it out. So I think it's going to really be up to the Packers and just giving Devontae basically what he wants, because he is the best receiver in football, and he is a little bit older than, we've seen the Packers give receiver extensions to before. But I don't think there's any reason to believe Davante Adams will not be playing this way for at least a few more years, if not more. So obviously want to see Devontae back. And then some other guys that Goody brought up today in his press conference were Devondre Campbell and Rasul Douglas, saying how much the team wants to bring them back. I know earlier in the week, Devondre Campbell posted a picture of Lambeau Field before that deadline for his contract, and everyone...
If I see any more posts with these like stupid eyes,
oh my God, so
like,
annoying.
Can you mute like an emoji on Twitter? Because I'm pretty close to it. If you can, like, someone let me know, because I will do that.
No, the eyes one, like, it's too played out, and it's like, it's cryptic and annoying. And obviously, I mean, I assume you're referencing also a lot of Za'Darius's recent tweets, who, I mean, we haven't had a chance, not necessarily news at this point, but we haven't had a chance to talk about it on Open Book. But unfortunately, I mean, it looks pretty clear that Za'Darius Smith will not be a Packer next year. Do you see it differently?
No. That's just kind of the way that... Wait, is that real? I don't know if that's real. I might try it. No, it kind of feels like he has said his goodbyes, and he's kind of clean slated right now. Do I think that he follows Mike Smith to the Vikings? God, I hope not. It'd be cool that Za'Darius would be like 20 minutes from me, but he'd be wearing the wrong color, which would be really unfortunate. But yeah, before even all that stuff had happened, I thought that, those couple snaps that he took in that division round, I thought that those were the last ones we were going to get to see with Za'Darius, which is a huge bummer because Za'Darius, not only when he's healthy is he a phenomenal player, but he has been such an important leader on this defense from the moment that he got here. So he just stepped right up and fit right in. And in the absence of him, Devondre Campbell has also come in and done a phenomenal job filling that role and, being that leader. So yes, it would be a huge bummer to lose one of your Smith bros, but at the same time, if you can then keep Campbell, then it's not like you're not in good hands with that defense and the leadership there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I do think that's a good point. Like, it would really suck to see him go, but if we know that, I think he has a $27 million cap hit, which is just absurd. If we know that him leaving is going to result in them keeping Devondre Campbell or Rasul Douglas or potentially both, whatever, you're like, okay, it's a decent trade-off. And obviously it's not going to be fun to see Za'Darius leave, but knowing Rashawn Gary is like hitting like his ascension of about to become a star does make it a bit easier. Preston Smith just had a bit of a bounce back season, looked really good. So I do think they would probably have to either draft another edge rusher or look into free agency because you don't want to just have two guys, but they wouldn't be left with no pass rush whatsoever. And if they sign Campbell because they had the money saved from Za'Darius, it's easier to deal with. But real quick, just because I don't know if it's correct, but it is I think I have seen this, the signing bonus. It does sound right that it would be guaranteed. So I guess, that would be a reason why a team wouldn't want to do a signing bonus if the guy, sucks or something and he ends up getting caught or something happens, you still have to pay him. But yeah, I am expecting at this point Za'Darius to not be on the Packers, but hopefully with the money they'll save from his contract gone, they'll be able to keep Devondre Campbell and or Rasul Douglas. But Campbell, in my opinion, the clear priority between those two. I assume you're on the same page.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's tough because they both produce well in their respective positions. It's just a matter of, who is more important in their role. And, you'll be getting Jair back from injury. Hopefully he'll be up to full speed by the time the season starts. I don't see why he wouldn't unless, there's some kind of setback, which I don't anticipate there being, but you really never know. But Devondre Campbell, I think that his leadership, Rasul is a phenomenal player and I would love nothing more than to be able to keep him, but he's not necessarily a leader.
Yeah.
Not yet. I mean, there's potential there where he could eventually, but he's an important piece, but I think Devondre, he has a bigger role than just what he does when he's playing on this team. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many guys like, when they do their captain voting and it's like, you got all these leaders, it's like, for all we know, Campbell could be wearing a C next year. So there's just, he's just kind of one of those guys he's very special and his presence is important. And it's kind of crazy because, I mean, we've mentioned this multiple times, probably like just a broken record at this point. He was so quiet coming in last season. There was really no talk. And now it's like he's somebody who it's really hard to picture this defense without. And I think, we've seen moments where he's not out there and the defense just looks different. So I think that his presence is really important. And if you can find a way to keep him and Douglas, that is going to keep your defense pretty solid because you look at the guys around them and you've got so many pieces. And yeah, it would be really hard for me to see Campbell leave after everything that we've seen him do in his performance and just who he is as a leader on this team. Though it's hard to lose guys who are good athletes, but it's also hard to lose guys who are good leaders. So to lose both at the same time, which, you're already losing in Za'Darius most likely, it would kind of just be double whammy if you lost both those guys.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, it would be one thing if the Packers were most of the other teams in the NFL where maybe there was some notable middle linebacker that has played for them in the last decade. But outside of, AJ Hawk, and it's already going back probably about 10 years from now, but like they've been so bad at that position And to have someone come in and be an all-pro his first year on the team and be such a leader, like you said, both on and off the field, to let him now just walk, in my opinion, would be kind of insane. Like, yeah, if he got some kind of offer that was absurd from another team, like a huge, huge deal, I guess that would be up to him to take it. But the Packers right now should be doing everything they can to not let him even hit the open market, because there will probably be a team out there that has a ton of cap room, saw what he did last year, and offers him a contract the Packers simply can't match. So hopefully they go and sign him before we have to worry about that. But yeah, I mean, Campbell's too good to lose at this point. And he's, like you said, I mean, I do think if he's back next year, there would be a C on his jersey, because it's kind of the leader of that defense right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so between him and Douglas, it'll be interesting to see what they can do. And Goody also mentioned, what else did he bring up today? I mean, there was a lot. I mean, there's obviously a ton of questions about Rodgers and Devontae, which we mostly covered, but it was nice, just to see him up there. He was talking about the combine a bit, which is up next week. And, the Packers, I feel like this is a very important draft for them because, like we said, we keep seeing them get so close, not being able to get over the hump, this, that. And with a team dealing with as much cap issues as them, that's really when the draft is going to come into play a lot more, because you're not paying rookies nearly as much and you need some impact from a rookie. And that's why I think this year, like, they need a hit on a couple picks. Like, if they keep talking about getting over the hump, that's going to be it, because you're not realistically, they'll be lucky just to re-sign some of their better players. I don't think they're going to be able to bring in more outside talent from, other teams. So this is a very big draft for them, in my opinion.
And I think, so I don't know why this clicked, but I think because everybody decides to do these important shows at noon when I'm at work and I can't watch them. Yeah. But I just kind of, everybody basically tweets out a script. So I just kind of piece it together. And it sounded like Goot did say something about, no plans to trade Jordan Love. Is that also correct? Because I'm kind of thinking, this draft, it doesn't sound like is super quarterback heavy.
No.
So maybe that's kind of the intent is, even if you keep Rodgers, even if he stays around, like, you have no intention of drafting a quarterback this year, because it just sounds like there's really nobody who is catching anyone's eye, at least from what I'm seeing. I'm not a draft guru or anything like that. These are just kind of things that I see and I read, and, there's no big name quarterback that I know of really coming out of the draft this year. So, and even if there was, like, the Packers wouldn't get him. So, it's slim pickings already. So maybe that has something to do with the intent to maybe keep Jordan Love around, or, there's just a bunch of, I know, like, a lot of different theories that you could probably come up with, but that's just kind of what I saw, is that, they're not really in a place where they're going to have those conversations, but they don't anticipate, if somebody does want to make a trade with him, they don't anticipate following through with it.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Goody basically said, someone asked him, if they've discussed that or whatever, or if teams have been calling, and he said basically along the lines of, well, even if they were calling, those aren't calls we're answering right now. So it doesn't seem like the Packers have any intention on trading Jordan Love. But like you said, like, I do think there are going to be teams that are definitely going to call closer to the draft, because, like you mentioned, it's not a good quarterback draft at all. And there are going to be some teams that think they're a quarterback away from at least being a playoff team, if not contending for more. And if they think Jordan Love, either this year or in the future, can be that guy, they're going to make an offer. And look, if I'm the Packers at this point, and obviously you have to assume Aaron Rodgers is back, but if you can get it's somewhat of a decent return, a second or even a third round pick, like, I don't know. I just think that if they were more confident in Jordan Love, I don't think they would be so adamant that Aaron Rodgers is not going anywhere. Like, Favre, they could have maybe pushed him more to stay or this, that, like, and then obviously he wanted to come back, and they're like, no, we're good, because they knew what they had in Aaron Rodgers. And even if it took them a year, which it did, I think Rodgers' first year they were 6-10, but then the next year they were in the playoffs. Like, but they knew, okay, this guy is our future. We're not going to risk that for one, maybe 2 more years of an older Brett Favre. If the Packers really, really thought that Jordan Love is going to be incredible, and whether it's this year or next year or 2 years, whatever it is, they wouldn't be so adamant that they're never going to trade Rodgers. They're not even picking up the phone. So, yeah, I think if you can get a return for him, you trade him, you get picks or you get players. And then whenever Rodgers is ready to go, like they didn't spend a top 10 pick on Jordan Love. They got Jordan Love at the end of the first round, and it was a project. So you can go and do the same thing next year or in 2 years and draft a guy, in the 20s or hopefully at 32nd after a Super Bowl win. But
or I just realized you can't even see. You have the wrong way. Oh, amazing Kurt Benkert on roster who can help out.
I actually noticed that
quarterback on that roster, a guy who we know for sure will be there.
Exactly. Benkert will definitely be there. But Jen, right now the way you're sitting, it's just 187. Like Jordy's, you can't see any of Jordy, so you just see Cobb and Benkert.
Oh, well, now I'm sad.
I know, so I knew that would make you sad, but the whole time I just keep seeing 187. So now I'm just thinking about
Cobb. That was really funny. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, Devontae, Cobb, and Jordy, the 187, of course.
No, but the greatest wide receiver trio of modern day Packer history.
Yeah, I mean them on one roster, 2014. I mean, we took it for granted. We didn't know. Someone would have told us we were going to have 1 year of it. I feel like we would have appreciated it more. It was really not fair.
It's all about that hindsight,
Yeah.
Never appreciate what you have until it's gone, which I feel like is kind of what all these people who are okay with Rodgers leaving are going to say in.
Okay with Rodgers leaving. I love the people on Twitter. I'm sick of it.
I promise that nobody is okay with being a losing team.
Yeah.
I think you're ready for it until it happens. And that's not to say that, Jordan Love wouldn't be ready or anything, but this would not be a contending team because you would have to rebuild.
Yeah,
if you don't have Rodgers, you're not going to bring back all the pieces and then not have a quarterback.
Exactly.
Or at least one who's ready. I mean, I would love to see Jordan Love thrive, but the people who say, I'm ready to see Rodgers leave, no, you're not. When it comes to actual every Sunday kickoff, maybe you're ready to not have to deal with any of the other Aaron Rodgers stuff. When it comes to a top tier quarterback, you are not ready for him to leave.
No, exactly. I mean, I've seen so many tweets and this, that, I'm over it. Let him go. Let him stay. I don't care anymore. When it's, week 4 and you're 0-3 and you're down 28-6 in the third quarter, you're going to care and realize, holy shit, how did we let him go? And, Rodgers is on, some AS, what the Broncos or whatever it is, and they're stomping some team and you're saying to yourself, what the hell did we just do? You're going to care. So today, maybe, you're over it. Okay, we'll see what happens in September when they're clearly not over it, because there's just, look, obviously, yes, I'm a bigger Rodgers fan maybe than most, but there's no way to mentally prepare from going, 30 years essentially with Favre and Rodgers every year going into the season where either you were Super Bowl hopefuls or knowing at the least you're going to make the playoffs, and we'll see from there, to who knows, we could be 5-12 and we'll just have to deal, for 5 years until or more. There are teams, that go, we're spoiled. We're talking about a few years, that teams go decades without good quarterback play. So there's just no way for a Packer fan, for sure under the age of 30 or 40, to actually sit there and be like, you know what, I'm ready for a life without the Favre Rodgers, back to back, because none of us have seen the Packers without a Hall of Fame quarterback for the most part. And
we really have been spoiled, and I'm not ready for it. I'm not, over Rodgers leaving. I'm not over winning. I like to win, and I feel like the Packers' best chance at that is to keep Rodgers. Exactly. I want to win. I want to watch this team succeed. I want to see them continue to chase a Super Bowl ring. That, when it comes time to the sports aspect of stuff, you want the best players in the league on your team. And it didn't end the way we wanted it to. But do we get to that point without Rodgers?
Absolutely. Yeah. Are you a one seed?
There's 17, 18 weeks of football leading up to the playoffs that, you don't automatically make it to the playoffs every year. The team has to also succeed in the regular season, then playoffs. It's it's not, everybody gets a chance at playoffs. I just think, people get really caught up in a lot of the different emotions, which are valid. Like you don't have to like everything about every player,
Yeah.
but
No, I mean, at the end of the day, if
I
you're
like
rooting
I
for the
like to
team,
have a winning team, and
exactly.
I'm not upset enough about him like shitting himself to feel better. Like it doesn't bother me enough to.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, the Packers for the last 3 years have won 13 games, and for 2 of the 3 years it was 13 of 16. 1 year 13 of 17, but for 13 of 16, 17 weeks, at the end of the day on Sunday, you were happy. The Packers won, and it's obviously a terrific feeling. And for 3 weeks of the season, like each loss felt almost like 5 losses. It was just so rare to see them lose. And people just, kind of take it for granted. Oh, 13 wins, 3 straight seasons. Like that is huge. And to know that with Aaron Rodgers, you're essentially booked into the playoffs. 90% of teams can't do that, just knowing they're going to make the playoffs. And then, yeah, it's just like, can we win the Super Bowl? Like, how many teams is their bar? Can we win the Super Bowl as opposed to can we win games? Can we make the playoffs? Can we contend in a real way? Like for the Packers, it's simply, can we win the Super Bowl, which is the highest of the highs. So I think anyone who looks at it and is just like, well, whatever happens, happens. Like when the Packers are 3-8 and eliminated from the playoffs and an embarrassment, and all of a sudden the Bears and the Vikings and the Lions are finishing ahead of us in the NFC North, we'll see how people, feel about not having Rodgers there. But I think as long as you can have him, it's not like he's going downhill, just won 2 MVPs. Like as long as you have Aaron Rodgers like this, why would you not do everything in your power to keep him? So yeah, that's just how I look at it. And again, if they thought Jordan Love was a star, maybe they would have been like, you know what, if you want to go, we'll trade you and we'll get a ton of picks and some good players and we have a great quarterback to go. They have never once said or given even a hint that they're ready for Rodgers to go anywhere, which for me is definitely, it might not be fully on Jordan Love, but I don't think you can look at it and be like, you know what, it has nothing to do with Jordan Love. They know Jordan Love's going to be a star, but they're just letting him sit on the bench for, 4 years. Like, I just don't think that's how they would operate because that's not what they did with Rodgers. So I guess we'll have to see how that goes. But like we started the show with, I'm under the impression that Rodgers will be back. And with that, whether it's on the tag or with an extension, Devontae will be as well, because I just don't think if you're Goody, I mean, you lose your job if you let the best receiver in football, hands down, leave your team after the season he just had. So real quick.
The chat's disagree
Yeah,
with us, but
exactly. Yeah. Okay, so losing in the playoffs. Well, look, 31.
Interesting take. So this is probably like my least favorite take that I see because yes, Matthew Stafford has the same number of rings as Aaron Rodgers. So does Nick Foles. Eli Manning has more. Like there's guys who aren't as good as Rodgers, but have more rings because rings are. It takes a team. It takes a whole team to get a ring. It's not like Matthew Stafford went out there and had the game of his life. Like when it came down to the line, one of their best players, Aaron Donald, stepped up.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, Stafford, he
takes a lot
in the game. Like he didn't win MVP.
So we can talk all day about, who has as many rings as who, because there's phenomenal athletes who, don't have any. So you're gonna say Calvin Johnson isn't as good because he has 0 rings compared to like, Jordy Nelson. Like obviously it's better, but I mean like you can't just compare rings and make that your statement. Like that's just one of the things that I think, like, because there's a lot of, there's so many people on a team where, like sometimes, there's a lot of guys who finish their careers and never win one. That doesn't mean that they're, unsuccessful in what they accomplish. It's just they never made it to the final stage of why you play football.
Yeah. I mean,
we can argue all day. Like if you want to go back and figure out, every quarterback who ever won a Super Bowl, like for Rodgers to even have the one, that's huge. Like I think people forget that everybody's always talking about, Rodgers only has 1 ring. What a disgrace. We should be thankful that in this era we did get to see a ring. I mean, Brett Favre only got 2 rings or 1 ring in 2 appearances.
Yeah.
There's
It doesn't always happen, even for the best players in whatever sport it is.
Okay, I'm not saying that Rodgers didn't play bad. This is where things get misinterpreted. But
Yeah.
I'm saying is you're talking about Matthew Stafford has as many rings as Aaron Rodgers, but that doesn't mean that Matthew Stafford is better or equal to Aaron Rodgers when it comes to success as a quarterback.
Yeah,
And
no,
Matthew Stafford wasn't even the MVP of that game.
exactly.
So
That right there is a huge part of it. But in general, I'm never, you could say, oh, it's because you're a Rodgers fan, this, that, but the rings argument is just never going to work. Like, there's no sport that is more team oriented than football. Like, you really need 53 men and your coaching staff. I mean, there's so much that goes into winning football games. Like, you know what, in basketball, I can somewhat hear it where someone wants to make an argument for one guy over the other. And I wouldn't put rings at the top of that list. I would put individual statistics, this, that. But if it was all even, and at one point or another, you can maybe look at rings because it's 5 guys on the court, and you really could almost in a way take over if you're that good and just really win it, the way Jordan did, the way LeBron tries, but never will be Jordan. But football, you could be Aaron Rodgers. You could win 2 straight MVPs. You could throw 1,000 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. Doesn't make a difference. If your defense sucks or your special teams, sucks, which obviously the Packers did this year, and goes and gives up a blocked field goal and a blocked punt, which results in 10-point swing. What are you going to do? Yes, Rodgers didn't play his best game. I will be the first to admit it was not his best game. It was probably his worst game of maybe the last 2 years. But at the end of the day, the Packers were still in position to win if it wasn't for special teams giving up 10 points. So for me, the rings argument is never going to work because forget Matthew Stafford. Let's talk about Trent Dilfer. And, we could go through the whole list of random quarterbacks that won a Super Bowl. Even Eli Manning is not a random quarterback, but no one would argue that Eli Manning is a better player than Aaron Rodgers. He has 2 rings. Rodgers has 1. So that's never going to really do it for me, at least in football. But yeah, I mean,
I think appreciate the 1 ring we do have.
Yeah,
because I live in a state that they haven't won a championship in their 4 major sports in my entire existence. So sometimes I think we get a little entitled with the championship stuff, and we really should, like 2010, that was an amazing feeling, and we should be really grateful to have had that experience. And I hope that we get to feel it again soon. Of course, every year my hopes are really high because this is the Green Bay Packers and our hopes are always really high for them. We have high standards, but I think we just kind of get caught up in like always wanting to win, where we start to kind of degrade someone's career because they didn't succeed enough. But the confetti fell on him and he won that Super Bowl, he won the MVP, and I think you can't take away from those kinds of things. So I think that, it sucks. Of course, he's a player who should have more, but for him to have even the 1, I think that that's something a lot of people take for granted at this point because they're just so championship hungry. And of course, this team, they have shown that they have had potential to be Super Bowl caliber, but there's a lot of really good teams in the league, and it's really, really hard to win championships. And I don't know. It sucked that Rodgers didn't have a great game this year in the divisional round. Obviously, I'm not saying, of course he was involved in that loss, but I think that we can't get so caught up in recency that we kind of forget, kind of what has happened throughout the entirety of this era.
Yeah, and the only reason every single year there's an expectation to win a championship, it's because of Aaron Rodgers. Like, at the end of the day, great players have come and gone from this roster, but one thing has stayed the same over the last 15 years, and that's Aaron Rodgers. And that's why every single fan going into the season will be pissed off with a divisional round loss or a championship game loss. That's because you're already going into the year, you're like, that's a given. The playoffs are a given, wild cards a given, divisional should be a given. It's like maybe the championship games where it's no longer a given, and we'll see what happens. But do you realize how high you're already holding the team before the season? You're like, if you're not one of the last 4 teams in the league, the whole season's already a loss. That's because of Aaron Rodgers. The only reason, if Aaron Rodgers was not on this team, we would not go into the season every year thinking, all right, we're really going to win the Super Bowl this year. Bears fans don't go into every season expecting a championship. nor do Vikings fans or Lions fans or, 27 or 28 other teams in the NFL. No one goes into the year the way Packers do for the last 15 years, where it's like basically Super Bowl, maybe championship game or bust. But that means your quarterback has already set the bar that high for your team. So
yeah, and I know chat's saying stuff, and I'm not saying like you can't be upset about a loss because we have a ring, but I'm just saying like when we talk about Rodgers' legacy, everybody like sees that word. You have to think about his entire career. So it's like it's okay to be upset about losses because those standards are so high, but we just can't forget that, we at least have gotten to feel what a lot like there's a handful of teams who have never even reached there's like 4 teams who have never even reached a Super Bowl. Was it like 12 who have never won one,
Yeah, look,
There's a lot of teams who never got to feel this, so that should be a testament as to how hard it is to get this. And, the whole Rodgers only has one ring. I look at it as like, I'm glad that Rodgers does have his ring.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I try and just, there's a lot of negativity around a lot of things. I just try and be appreciative of the things that we have gotten to see. And, yeah, it sucks when you lose in a divisional round the way we did this year, but I still had so much fun this last season where I'm not going to let that loss ruin all the fun that I had in the regular season. So maybe I'm just grossly optimistic about things, but I just, I appreciate good football for what it is. And, teams lose. It happens and it sucks and it hurts, but that's just, it's part of the sport. Only one team ends up happy at the end of the year. So,
yeah. So, I mean, like you mentioned with Minnesota earlier, I have a friend who's a all Minnesota sports teams fan, all 4 sports. He's lived his entire life. He's nearly 30 years old. He's never seen a championship. So like for everyone, yeah, you know what? It was 12 years ago or 10, 11, 12 years ago. All right. But you know what? We got to see win a Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. And again, every single year when you're winning 10 plus games, like, do you want, that's how you enjoy the football season. When your team's winning week in and week out, you get to enjoy it. And with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, that's when all right, we're winning 10 plus games, going to be in the playoffs. And then you see from there, but you can't just take for granted the fact that you're going to win 10 plus games and you're going to be a playoff team. So yeah, I guess long story short, appreciate Aaron Rodgers because it's not going to last forever. And when it's over, there's a better chance than not the Packers are not going to have a Hall of Fame quarterback, and we're really going to see what it's like to be another team in the NFL because none of us really know what it's like without Favre and Rodgers. So that's kind of my final saying on this because we've talked about it for quite some time. But yeah, so before we head out from this show, Jen, any final thoughts specific to either the Rodgers situation or anything else with the Packers?
Just playing it by ear, just kind of, I'm not going to read into anything. I don't have the energy for that. Yeah. It's wild hockey season. That's where my focus is right now. An actual, fingers crossed, but they're talking about them being a contender. So, Packers, they were my disappointment in the playoffs this year. So maybe that means that the Wild will actually get past the first round. Little hopeful there, but yeah. Focus on hockey right now, and Olympics are over, so my sleep schedule is back on track. No Artec today, and that's not just because Eli and I don't want to read it, which is also true, but we don't have producer Andrew here today, so we don't even have the script.
So yeah, I was scrolling through our chat earlier trying to find the script, and I cannot find it.
No, I don't know where to get it. Didn't even think about it. Sorry, guys. Guess neither of us are going to read it, but we'll have Zach do 2 next week.
Yeah, Zach will do one to start the show and to finish it off. But even without the script, this show is brought to you by Artec Ventures, and we do appreciate them for sponsoring the show all year long, heading into the off season. But yeah, that's it for this week, everybody.
I do want to say, please check out my pinned tweet on Twitter. My family, we have a pup in our family who needs ACL surgery. He's like a Mastiff German Shepherd, just a large dog mix, and it's really expensive. So please check out that tweet. If you can't donate, please share it. I'd really appreciate it. It's really expensive and it's really hard on the family. So if you can do it.
I'm going to go do that right now. I did not have a chance to do
we've already got a lot of donations, which I'm super appreciative of, and hopefully once he can get that surgery, he'll be feeling a lot better, because I know for those of us who have had those injuries, it's not fun, and a dog doesn't really understand that they can't, like, run around. So if you could check that out, I would really appreciate that. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like bring the show down. I'm just trying to make my cause known here. So he'll be okay. Like, he'll be fine. It's just, financial stuff is tough. So for the sake of my family, I know my sister, it's my brother-in-law who it's his dog. So my sister says thank you to everybody who has donated and to anybody who has shared that. They're already like overwhelmed with all the donations. So I just wanted to say thank you and check that out.
Awesome. Yeah, everyone check that out. I mean, if it was for a person, I'm not sure, but it's for a dog. So it's a good cause.
Whatever, but
exactly.
Dog, of course.
Make sure to check that out. And before we head out, at the bottom of the screen, you can see to follow Game On Wisconsin on Twitter at Game On WI, and subscribe on YouTube at Game On Wisconsin. And as always, you can find, Andrew and Zach aren't here, but you can find Andrew on Twitter at Mertens_Andrew.
I bet we never fixed Zach's. That's not good anymore.
You know what? Yeah, it's not Zachariah. It's Zachary, right? J.
It's Zachary J.
Yeah. Oh, I got so used to Zachariah. But yeah, Jen is at BigMac_4 on Twitter, and you can find myself at Book of Eli _NFL. Everyone who tunes in, we appreciate it. Everyone in the chat, whether you were agreeing with us, disagreeing with us, we appreciate you watching and being involved. And who knows, by next week, this whole conversation might be worthless, and we might have Rodgers. Yeah. But yeah, again, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next week. Go Pat, go.